Think about this for a minute, that your voice is actually more important than what you are saying. If you're leaving voice messages, if you're using what's the name of that the app on your text,
there's
record
WhatsApp
messages.
and stuff.
I have a client in Europe, and apparently it's very popular to do that, to record. He records his voice rather than texting. It is more important than ever today to have control of your voice, or understanding how to use your voice. It's more important than most people have ever thought, perhaps.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Win the Hour, Win the Day. And I am your host, Chris Ward. And today in the house, we have David Tyler. Now I'm going to let him introduce himself, or I'm introducing him, but I'm going to let him give his little backstory, because once he starts to talk, you're going to notice that there is a difference and there's a story behind the voice. Welcome to the show, David.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be here, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Now, I'm not sure if you guys are capturing this, depending where you're listening to it. You know, I don't know what your car radio. Oh my gosh. Hello. It's from the 50s, your car radio, right? I don't know where you're listening to this on, but if you don't hear it, David has a very, hey, I think I just won a car, or I'm on, Channel 6 News kind of voice. So David, why don't you tell us a little bit of how, a very short version of, obviously we're going to talk about how to use your voice in the modern day world for business, right. But let's then understand a really quick little version of why you're the guy to tell us about this.
Well, I've been a voice actor for about 40 years, doing many different kinds of things. I've worked in Canada as the voice of the Weather Network for a little while. I've worked in radio for about 25 years, in television. And for people who are listening in Canada, they may recognize me as the voice of CTV News. So CTV News Channel, CTV, the nightly news, and all the local news programs across the country.
Okay, let me jump in here from the business mind. When you do that, is it a hired, here is the project, or is there any residual impact if they're using your voice for the next 5 years?
Most of the broadcasters that I work with, about 95% of the broadcasters that I work with, I'm under contract. So with CTV News, for example, I'm under a 12-month contract. I've got radio stations in the United States and around the world. It's the same thing, a 12-month contract. But I do a lot of those one-offs here and there too.
Okay. No, I just didn't know if it was like syndication, like, how the people at Friends, everybody on the Friends is getting paid for it 20 years later. So I didn't know if they kept using your voice. Do you get sort of residual impact? No such luck. Okay.
We don't do that at this level.
I'm thinking of you, David. Okay. So excellent. All right. So you are the man to tell us about this. So today we're going to talk about using your voice for business. And we're going to talk about the 5 elements of voice: volume, pitch, pace, timbre, and register.
Right.
All right.
I mean, the key thing that you need to remember is that your voice is your personality. A lot of people kind of take their voice for granted. It's just a kind of a thing they speak. They have an idea, they have a thought, and they push it out, and they're done with it. Because I've been doing it for 40 years, I've become very aware of the way I say things, how I say things, and when I say things. But what you need to start thinking about is your voice is your personality. And when you're talking about business, your voice and personality represents your business. So your ability to communicate is directly connected to the success of your business. The way that you use your voice will help you to become more successful in business.
You bring up a lot of good points. Now, I don't take that for granted. Here is my little dilemma. I blame it on my mother, like any functioning person would. And my mother came from a very large family, like large. And so you talked quickly and you talk loud and you just talk over other people. So, and I actually thought, okay, I need to slow this down. I need to be a better communicator. I actually took 2 courses on how to be a better speaker as far as breath and owning your voice. Because also I get a little pitchy, as my husband used to say, like you're going high, like the dogs can hear you. And he kindly said, he was a very generous and kind man. He said I should have got my money back on both of those, because so So I didn't take it for granted, but I do think there's a sort of a blueprint that we are stuck with to some
Right.
element of it. So help us. How can we navigate within what we've been given?
Yeah, I mean, they say that we find somebody usually in our life to emulate their voice. My father was a tenured professor at McGill University in Montreal, so he was a great orator, and just automatically my ear kind of went towards the way that he spoke, the style that he spoke in, and the resonance that he created with his voice. There's something we need to talk about also, that in terms of communication, our communication right now that we're having, only 7% of this communication that we're having is about what we are saying, and 55% is body language, and then 38% is tone of voice.
Oh.
If you think about it in terms of, what's been happening with the pandemic, in terms of, doing Zoom calls where body language really doesn't come into it, think about this for a minute, that your voice is actually more important than what you are saying. If you're leaving voice messages, if you're using the what's the name of that the app on your text,
Yeah, there's
record
WhatsApp
messages.
and stuff.
I have a client in Europe, and apparently it's very popular to do that, to record. He records his voice rather than texting. It is more important than ever today to have control of your voice, or understanding how to use your voice. It's more important than most people have ever thought, perhaps.
You bring up so many points. I don't even know where to start. So first of all, yes, my tone has gotten me in a lot of trouble throughout my life. And I always thought it was not fair. Yes. And my mother, even as a child, she'd say, watch your tone. Which, by the way, poor mom, I see her now with that tone. I know where I got that tone. And I didn't like it as a child because I thought, you can't prove, like, I didn't say something wrong. How can I argue my tone? It's interpretive, right? So I didn't appreciate that. But what you bring up is something we've all heard, not the exact formula, but the whole body language is everything, la, 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 we got it. But we don't highlight or address enough that 38% is a really big number, considering that's connected to the tone. And I have to say, I don't think that comes up not even once a year.
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear people talking about that.
No, we don't. There was a really interesting case that came up in the last 2 years, and because I'm always listening for interesting voice stories, it's the story of Elizabeth Ann Holmes, who was the CEO of Theranos, which is it's a defunct technology company. Now, I don't know the details about what happened within the company Theranos, but she lost her billions of dollars that she had, and I believe that she had to do some prison time. But
hold on. Just by the way of tone, you made that sound very friendly. I'm not sure. I believe she is residing in residential establishment we call prison. Right?
My journalism friends would say you need to say allegedly a couple of times.
Okay.
Because I don't know the whole story. But what I do know is that Elizabeth Ann Holmes got bad advice.
Okay.
She got bad advice. Somebody told her that you need to speak in a deep voice in order to have more respect from the people around you, and to attract more investors. And she would speak in a tone that was like this. Imagine this woman. She's in her mid-30s, blonde hair, blue eyes, very well dressed, but she spoke like this all the time. To me, that was really bad advice. The person that told Elizabeth Ann Holmes to speak that way, and I like to talk with them. But what the advice that she should have been given is that resonance communicates confidence, not depth.
Okay.
We have this false idea that
what's the difference?
that speaking in a deep voice is how you're going to gain respect. It's not. Resonance is there's a sweet point to everybody's voice. Men and women have a sweet point to their voice, and I call it the maximum resonance point, the MRP. It's the happy place where your voice lives, where everything just flows and everything is happy. One of the beautiful things about speaking in your maximum resonance point, in your MRP, if you are speaking for an hour, if you're giving a speech or whatever it is, when you're speaking in that tone, you could talk for hours and hours. If you're speaking too high or too low, the way that Elizabeth Ann Holmes did, it puts a lot of pressure on your voice. Now, several years ago, because I also coach other voice talent, about 4 or 5 years ago, I created a video which helps you find your maximum resonance point using a piano. And if you Google David Tyler maximum resonance point, that video will pop up. Okay. I just checked it now, just before we started talking, to make sure that it shows up. So if you Google David Tyler maximum resonance point, it's a video of about 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay. You will be able to find your maximum resonance point.
Hold on, let me jump in for a second before we dive deeper in that. I've heard female actors, I can't remember the name now, but she was on whatever, anyhow. And she was told, because she had a little bit of a deeper voice, not a masculine voice, just a deeper, and I don't know any of the technical terms that you're going to throw there. And her acting coach said, you be careful, because they will constantly put you in roles of a lawyer or a doctor or a position of authority because of your voice. Exactly. So I think that's a common thing, whether somebody started a myth or there is truth to that, I don't know.
Right. But the key thing, Chris, is that everybody has a maximum resonance point. It's not just because me and I have a bigger voice that only I have that. You have a maximum resonance point to your voice as well. And one of the ways that you can find your maximum resonance point, or get to it without the piano, without the exercise, is probably one of the most important things that you need for your voice. And it's probably one of the most important things that you need to live. And that is breathing. Yeah. A lot of people will forget about breathing. They won't think about breathing. When you start breathing in a shallow way, it actually creates anxiety. If you're going to give a big speech or whatever, you want to be able to breathe, to fully breathe. And there's something called box breathing. Okay. That the Marines use. They teach the Marines the U.S. Marines to use this box breathing method in order to keep calm. But at the same time, box breathing will help you to discover your maximum resonance point. Are you familiar with box breathing?
No, I'm fascinated by this, because I do know I speak too quickly, and I do know I don't breathe enough, and I do know I have a lot of words per minute, and it's been something that I've struggled with, and it's almost like a distraction, because I realize, I have to slow down. I have to breathe. Like, it's just everything I do is just fast, which is a lifelong journey of slowing down. Right. So yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't know how I've been trying to fix it for 20 years.
What do you think, Chris, when you speak quickly, what do you think the perception is of the people who are listening to you? What do you think the perception is?
I think, and I do talk a lot slower than I used to. I think it comes off juvenile, like a child running into, hey mom, this is what happened at the park, and it's not my fault, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm very self-aware.
which is one of the reasons why we need to talk about that. Yeah. When you do the box breathing exercise, I'm just gonna briefly do it. What box breathing is you breathe in for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and release it through your nose by a count of 4. And then hold that for a count of 4, and then you go around the box again, and you breathe in again for 4. And what this ends up doing, and when you're doing it, you should feel your belly moving out, not your chest. You should feel your belly moving out. And what happens as you're doing this breathing is that your diaphragm actually relaxes, and that's where your voice is going to come from. That's where your resonant voice is going to come from. It's going to come from your diaphragm, from your belly. And one of the things that I add to the box breathing exercise is that when you're exhaling, you say as if you are opening your mouth for your doctor to say, the doctor wants to look down.
Okay.
So you open up your throat and you say on the exhale. And that is essentially where your maximum resonance point should be. It's another way of doing that.
I can't hear you. I keep counting to 4. No, I'm kidding.
You're still counting.
I'm doing cycles. I've moved on. No. Okay.
But box breathing, I recommend it for anybody that's going to go and give a speech and there's an important moment in their life, just to take 3 or 4 minutes and just do that box breathing.
No, and these are really good points. And I think and it's very simple and something we can do. And I am particularly mindful, like when I'm doing sales, to make sure I talk slower and change my tone. Like it's something I have to concentrate on, because otherwise it's just like, la, la, la. But so is that something we would do before a presentation? It's not something we have to constantly do while we're speaking. It will slow us down and make us be more mindful, and will impact the dialogue or conversation.
Yeah, I think it's if you're just starting to do the box breathing, I think it's important to do that just before you go on. I don't know if you've ever seen Tony Robbins just before he goes on stage. He has a little trampoline that he jumps up and down. That's kind of the opposite of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to be calmer, to get into your maximum resonance point, so that as you speak, first of all, you're going to be able to last longer, but at the same time, you're going to sound more confident, because resonance communicates confidence. Okay.
So in my mind, I hear what you're saying, and it's like, it's being more grounded and standing more strong in your voice.
Exactly.
And so what is I don't even know what resonance is. So I understand volume, pitch, I think, which is a musical thing. I guess that's when you go high and low. Like when people say, Chris, you're is that when my pitch is high? If I'm upset?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about the different colors of the voice, and we'll start with pitch, because that seems to be an issue that you've recognized, in that you start to pitch your voice up.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting. We're not going to do it now. Maybe we'll do it after we finish the podcast, but we'll do the breathing and the resonant test to find out where your maximum resonance point is. We'll do that later.
You know what? I'll tell full disclosure here, so everybody's gonna be totally horrified. There was a time where they had keychains where, if you, like a little thing on a keychain, it was a novelty item a couple of years back, and if you whistled, they like, I guess you'd find the keychain or something, it would beep. And if I was getting excited talking about something, the sound of my voice took these damn whistles off.
Right.
Like that's when like you need rehab, right?
One of the other things that I talk about in my talk when I'm speaking with business people and CEOs is about the psychological effect, the reason why, and you just said the reason why. That you had a very large family, and in order to get your mother's attention, you needed to speak quick, and you needed to speak higher. One of the things that you'll know if you're out in the country on the lake or wherever, and you want to get somebody's attention who's far away, you're going to raise your pitch because it travels further.
Right.
We know that instinctively. So you're trying to get somebody's attention by raising your pitch. Find your maximum resonance point and bring your pitch down to where it should be.
This is fascinating, because what you're doing is I hear things that we take for granted, but we don't know how to label or identify them. So you're talking about the colors of a voice. And when you give that example, we go, oh, we've all done that. I didn't know that was this. I think I also go into presentation mode, like with my team, when we're on like a Zoom call or anything. I constantly have to say to them, these are all my flaws, people. I have to be careful. I swear I give myself a headache talking loud. Again, I blame my mother. Thank you very much. And she knows this. And what happens is I think I'm in presentation mode, and I've got this very expensive mic, and I say, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. Can you guys hear me when I talk normal? And they're like, yes, Chris. And then it actually is harder for me. I feel like I'm pressing down on my chest, trying to control this hoarse beast voice of mine. And it's more effort for me to talk lower than it is for me to go loud.
We could find your maximum resonance point and place your voice.
Okay.
Where it should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I blame all my aunts are very, very loud. I'm at their house and they're like, oh, they're all so loud on the phone.
But that's
and I think I don't want to be like that.
But that's it. That's another whole psychological angle to understand why do you speak that way, and accept it and push it away, so that when your voice does start to pitch up again, understand the reason why and accept it and then push it away. But pitch,
this is like voice therapy.
Well, there is a whole aspect to voice therapy, and developing the sense, the feeling of that you have the right to speak, and that people should be listening. There's a psychological side to it.
And there is two things you just made me think of. One is I do know, I think I got to talk quickly in case I lose their attention. Like I got to get to the point, right? Because I often thought if I was Martin Luther King and I was up there going, it would be like, oh my gosh, I had this dream. And I would be trying to get it out quickly because it's really important.
That's right.
And I found it so fascinating. He's like, I had a dream, and this big dramatic pause. I'm like, they have left. They're not listening to me at this point. Right. So I do know there's a psychological aspect to that. Oh, there was a second thing. The second thing I wanted to say is when I'm doing interviews, we help our clients, we'll help them build their win team. So I'll hire, train on board and get them whatever they need for their team. And I'm telling you, you're right. Within 3 seconds, when somebody hops on a Zoom call to be interviewed, I'll tell you 9 out of 10 times how much time they're going to get out of me just by their voice. Right away, I know how they speak. And I'm like, okay, how long do I have to be polite here? Cause it's not going to work. Right.
But this brings us to color number 2, which is pace. Okay. And the way that the pace that you take to speak also communicates something about the message. If it's an emergency message, the house is on fire or whatever like that, you're going to be talking fast because you need to be. So there's an urgency. But once you have your maximum resonance point and you figured out the proper rhythm that you should be in to deliver the message, whatever the message happens to be, if you're giving somebody some bad news, you're going to be talking you'll be talking a little bit slower. But it's not just that when you are speaking that you will speak the same rhythm the whole time. Sometimes you're going to speak a little bit faster, just kind of like way that I just did it right now, where I slowed down first and then I went a little bit quicker to get to whatever the point is. So pitch and pace are very important colors of the voice. But probably the biggest one is called prosody. Prosody. It is the melody of the voice of what you are saying. And I last week I was watching a video on YouTube, and the guy would talk like this, and he would always end each sentence off by going straight down. And then he would start at the top of the sentence, and then he would continue through the middle of the sentence, and then he would end down. And this is an easy way for get people to automatically tune out from your message. Prosody is the melody that you choose to use to deliver your message. I've been doing this for 40 years, so I already have my kind of melody. An example of it's cultural too. I'm not good at accents, but I've listened to some movies with Irish actors, and it seems to me that everybody in an Irish movie ends off every sentence as if it's a question.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a cultural thing also, but in North America, with the North American accent, one of the things that I found is that women in general speak that way. The technical term is uptalk. I call it deferring to authority. So
I was thinking of that as you were talking, because I hate putting categories. Women do this, men do that. So I was trying to figure out how to phrase this question, because I do notice this more in females, and it's not my pet peeve. I want to jump in, and I know nothing. I mean, the fool here, I don't know anything that you know, but it weakens their position when their voice goes high at the end of every question, like and an end of every sentence, like they're asking questions and they're not sure. And it's constant. It's also, I think, distracting. It's distracting, and it just has no authority to it. And I'm like, okay, this is not my business. And who am I to tell them anything? But I do hear that, and it really undermines whatever your message is.
The female actors that I work with, that's the first thing that if I notice it, I'll jump in right away and say, okay, this is what you're doing, and you need to stop doing that. Especially if they as a voice actor are selling a product, you need to be confident about the product. So when it comes to business, if you're a female business owner and you're trying to get a new client or whatever the situation is, you need to be aware if that's something that you struggle with. Again, I'm calling it deferring to authority.
That's a good name.
And it seems to be a North American thing. The other term is uptalk. So at the end of every sentence, and men do it also, but I do find culturally in North America that women do that a lot, and especially if you are in business, you have to get rid of that.
Yeah, because you sound unsure.
Correct.
Can you talk to when you're talking to people, can you just have a conversation, or like you hear, like, I don't know, kind of like somebody that sees music or something, like, can you just pay attention to the content, or you're always like, oh, that should be fixed? Oh, what is it like like white noise going on for you?
No, it never bothers me. I enjoy eavesdropping. I'm just kidding. But I enjoy watching, movies and see how actors they're acting and how I can maybe borrow something from what they're doing. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh my gosh. Okay. Time flies with you, David. Go ahead.
The other two colors are, we talked about this before off air. Timbre and tone. Timbre is the quality or the character of your voice, and you can affect the quality and the character of your voice. You can do it with voice training. A few years ago, I played a cartoon character. I was playing the gym teacher of Caillou. Are you familiar with that cartoon?
Yes,
Caillou. So I played his gym teacher, and my voice was too resonant for that show because it's a children's show. So I literally recorded the whole episode with my arms crossed and holding down my chest so that it wouldn't physically resonate. So it's possible. I'm not suggesting that anybody do that, but it's important to think about or listen to and hear the timbre or the quality or character of your voice. You may sound you may sound very nasally. This is where a vocal coach could come in and help you to change that. And then there's tone. So timbre and tone are not the same thing. Tone is more like treble and bass on your stereo. There are guitars that have a knob on them that will give you more treble and more bass tone. So timbre is kind of the quality or the character of your voice. Once you listen back to yourself, you can hear it. If you find that it is annoying, or people believe that it's annoying, you can always get help with a coach. And the same thing with tone, getting the treble or the bass of your voice. But being aware of that is important. There was something else that you had brought up when we were talking about pitch, and that is volume. That's the last color of the voice, is volume. And again, for you in your case, growing up with a large family, it wasn't just the pitch, but it was the volume. And your aunts who speak very loud. Why? Because they grew up in that kind of atmosphere where to get recognized, you need to speak loudly. If you are the owner of a company, if you are the CEO of a company, you don't need to speak loud anymore. You don't. People are going to be paying attention to you.
And I never yell. Like, I never yell. I don't believe in it. I just don't. I would never give my energy away like that. Like, I'm not a parent and you're a child. So I would never yell at another human being, like unless there's danger. But so, so it's not something like not trying to throw my weight around, but, and funny enough, they think I talk slow and I'm very quiet because compared to them. And they'll say, we're telling the story. Somebody say, like, you better talk quick if you want to get that in. Listen, I have a podcast. I'm trying to be a better human being. I'll just not be heard in this house. I'm fine with it.
Have you, do you ever watch Seinfeld?
Yes. Yes.
There's an episode. The episode is called Alternate Side, The Alternate Side, season 3, episode 11. And in that episode, Woody Allen is shooting a movie.
Oh,
And
yes.
each one of the actors through the 30-minute episode says the line, "These pretzels are making me thirsty." And
Yes.
each time different actor says it, they say it in a completely different way, with a completely different intention, that shows you how you can say something in different. These are professional actors. You can say something differently, even while you're saying the exact same words. My other favorite example is Guardians of the Galaxy, Groot. And all he says in that film is, "I am Groot." He doesn't say anything. All of his lines, his whole movie is, "I am Groot." And every time he says, "I am Groot," it has a completely different meaning. And sometimes it's deeply emotional, and sometimes it's very exciting. But the way he says, "I am Groot," he's very proud. It's amazing what you can do with your tone of voice, with the 7 colors of the voice, to create a deeper meaning, to create a deeper message, no matter what it is. Maya Angelou used to say, "Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning."
That's good. Yeah.
You can have a beautifully written speech. You could have hired a beautiful speech writer, but it's your voice, the way that you're going to present it, that's going to change the meaning. Do we have time for our pop quiz?
You know, we're going to make time. We're running over, but I don't care. Damn it, it's my show.
So I've already given Chris the line. Can you help me with this?
Okay.
Now, thinking about the 7 colors. I forgot there is a 7th one, and that is silence.
Oh, yes. Okay.
It's kind of the anti-color.
Okay.
It's kind of the black of
the
the
black
colors
sheep of the white family. Yeah.
So this exercise is about setting your intention. You're going to be going to say that line. Can you help me with this? Okay. First, I'm going to give you three queries. Say it as if you're talking to a 5-year-old child. Think about the 7 colors. Speak like you're talking to a 5-year-old child.
Can you help me with this?
Good. And as if you're speaking to your boss.
Can you help me with this?
Oh, I don't know if you'd say it quite that way. Imagine he's like the big boss. He's like the CEO of a company, and you're in the mailroom.
Oh, see, I've always been overconfident in my life. Okay. Can you help me with this?
Right.
Can you help me with this?
Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
See, there was kind of, you could throw in that silence. Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
And then the last one is say that line to me as if you're frustrated and speaking to your next door neighbor who always borrows your stuff.
Can you help me with this?
Each one of those 3 times, you said it very differently. I understand that you're not an actor. I would have gone a lot bigger and a lot smaller, but that's a good example of how to use the 7 colors of the voice to communicate meaning.
I got A+ on being frustrated. Did you notice?
That was very good.
I did really well there.
That was a good one.
Thanks. Oh my gosh, time flies with you, David. It really does. We should have had this as a 3-part series. This is spectacular. I always say too that when somebody, I don't know, when they're really passionate about something, it makes it interesting. But there was so much depth and scope to this than I've ever had a conversation about. And you're right, it is so much who you are. I know, especially now, we talked about this a little bit off air, is, I often leave audio messages or videos or whatever, on different social media platforms if I'm communicating with someone, or LinkedIn, instead of typing it out, because they act like it. First of all, it's much faster, and they act like, now I did this big thing for them. But also, I'll tell this quick story, and then we do have to go. I had this gentleman that I was going back and forth with for like a whole bunch of months on Facebook, and he's asked me this, and we're connecting. And finally he had left me a voice message, and he was like, had the thickest Irish accent. I'm like, whoa, I need to go back and read all those texts you sent me about this project. Like, I didn't know you at all. Like, you know, what you wrote and how you sound completely different. Although now as I talk, I realize I'm getting loud again. David's still here. So.
No, it's okay. You're getting excited because you're making the connection.
Yes, I'm making the connection.
Yeah.
All right, David, how can they find more of your brilliance?
They could go and visit my website, which is David Tyler Speaks, SPEAKS, davidtylerspeaks.com. I'm now giving a talk. I'm booking for this coming year, a talk on how to use your voice in business, so they can get some more information there. Could I mention this book, because we talked about psychology? It's not my book. This is not my book, but it's a book that's written by Patsy Rodenberg. And this is a book that all actors have on their bookshelf, by Patsy Rodenberg, and it's called The Right to Speak. It goes a lot deeper into the psychology, and I think, Chris, you're going to gain a lot of insight into your youth and why you speak the way that you speak. I think you speak fantastic. The fact that you understand your shortcomings, if we want to call it that, and that you're working on it, I think is fantastic.
Oh, I'm painfully self-aware. David, you have been a treat. Thank you so very much. Everyone else, we will see you in the next episode. Spectacular. That was phenomenal. It really was. I've never.
How long did we go? I lost track of time.
35 minutes. I didn't.
Is that
care.
Okay?
Yeah. Normally I do. I'll tell you the truth. I do 20 and 25 if you're interesting. I've never done 35.
Okay.
So I'm so thrilled. I know you were all gracious and stuff, but
I was gonna talk about Gilbert Gottfried. You know Gilbert Gottfried? Him, that guy.
Well, I'm so thrilled that we redid this because, and it was funny, right before the minutes of the hour, I think, well, he seems like he was going to show up, but he might not. He might be annoyed at me. But
no, I'm here. I was in a conference until 3:30. So.
Oh no, just because I cut you off the last time and said, no, this isn't working. But this is something so unique, so important, and so like we don't have anything like it. And you just did a spectacular job. And there's so many takeaways and so many layers to it. And I'm really excited about it because it's like, yes, this is what we should all pay attention to. So yeah, I'm thrilled. This is really going to stand out. It's awesome.
All right, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
I knew we'd find the sweet spot.
I did too. As long as people go, get out of my way. I know what I'm doing. I am going to read that book. I'm going to write that down. The Right to Speak. Patsy. Okay. Awesome.
It's like I said, it's a book for actors. It's very philosophical, and I'm just looking at the published date. Okay, so the original published date is 92. So what is that? It's like 30 years.
Yeah, knowledge is knowledge. When it's good knowledge, it doesn't get outdated. There's a lot of people holding on tightly to that Bible, and it's a bit dated.
It is. Yes. A couple thousand years old.
Okay, so I think you would air within the next 2 months, probably. But honestly, I'm probably going to get into the file and bump you up a bit. So what will happen is the team will notify you on a Tuesday, and they'll give you everything you need, and they will remind you on the Thursday that it's going to air. Okay. Perfect. All right. And I'll push it out onto my social media, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. I mean, it was just are you because I wasn't sure if your listenership is mostly North America. No. It goes beyond. I mean, no, it doesn't matter. We have a big following in England, Germany, a big following in Australia. Italy, and I don't know who's in Iran, but they're listening. Yeah. So we do have obviously North America, US more than Canada, right? Right. But we have, I would say second is Australia, and the third is England. Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure about that in terms of talking about the Irish accent. No, I wouldn't be, because it is what it is. And I laugh because we're in PEI. Everybody here is either Irish or a descendant of Irish. Right. So I don't think it just is what it is. It's like Boston saying, here's my car. Like we all know what it is. We know the Irish accent is distinct. So I didn't find that nothing but just a great example. Did I tell you I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut? No. Well, till I was 10, and I moved here, and it was all pack the car and have it yard. Yeah. I had to lose that accent when I got onto the radio. So that was a challenge. Yes, that's what my husband said to me when he was like, he'd say when I come back from PEI, it's one big word. I don't know what you're talking. I just see one big word. You got to break it down for me, right? Okay, I have to reclimatize myself. We've re-entered the Earth's atmosphere here. So fabulous. Well, we will stay in touch, David. Thank you so much. If you need anything from me, please reach out, and I definitely going to be cheering you on, and we'll stay in touch.
Cool. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, David.
Talk to you
Thanks.
later. Bye.